So, okay. So here we have seen constructors, right? And after that, I said, what is a private and public? So any member which is prefixed with the double underscore is called as a private, right? If you don't put any double underscore, then it is called as a public. So I said the methods what you write inside the class, whatever methods you write inside the class. So these methods perform, okay, two operations. Okay, one is called as a setter operation and one more is a getter operation. Setter means is called as mutable. Getter means what here? Immutable. So methods defined inside class perform two operations. One is setter and one more is a getter. An operation which modifies values of object is called a setter operation. An operation which doesn't modify values of object is called getter operation. It means, for example, so for example, append is a append method of list will modify the values of the object. So that is called as a setter operation. It will modify the values of the object, that is called setter operation. Okay, append method, it will change it, right? And remove method also it will change the values of the object. So any method, see any method which modify the values of the object is called as which operation? Setter operation. For example, assume that so there is a class. For example, I want to represent, see, I want to represent a customer details. I want to represent those details here, customer details. So what is the name of the class here? Account. Suppose you are developing some banking application. You are developing some banking application where you want to represent those details, customer details. For representing customer details, I'm trying to develop one data type. And what is the name of this data type here? Account. Account is a data type or account is the name of the class. So every customer is having account number. Customer is having account number, customer name, and one more is what here? Balance. So this is a constructor with how many arguments here? 3 arguments. So it receives the account number, customer name. It receives the account number, customer name, and one more value it will receive is a balance. So here I make this account number as a private. Okay, so I make the customer name as a private and then balance equal to B. So it means whenever I create a customer, the customer is created with how many variables? 3 variables. So these are called instance variables or object level variables. So inside the class, always instance variables are bind with what? Cell. So what will happen whenever I whenever I open account? Otherwise, whenever I open the account, I'll say account 1 equal to account. I'm creating the account by giving input as account number. Okay, because this is a constructor with how many values? 3 values. Then I have to input how many values to this constructor? 3 values. So the first value is account number. First value is account number and second value is a customer name. And third value is what here? Balance. So what will happen? So it will create. So what is the name of the object is created here? Account one. So account one is the name of the object. And this object is created by calling which one here? Constructor. And this constructor receive how many values? Account number, customer name, and one more is a balance. And using this constructor even bind with the current object. So self is referring to which object? Current object. So here you are writing self dot account number, self dot customer name, and self dot what is that? Balance. So self dot account number, right? So self dot account number equal to A. And what is the value of A here? 101. Self dot customer name. So there is one more variable is created. And what is the name of this variable? Customer name. And what is the value of customer name here? Naresh. Okay, self dot balance equal to B here. So it will create one more variable. So what is the name of the variable? Balance. And what is the balance it takes here? 50,000. So the customer is created with how many properties here? 3 properties. But the data which is there inside this object is what? Private. Okay, so can you access this data within main? No, because main is not a member. So private data is accessed by only the members of what? Same class. But private members cannot access by outside members. Okay. So then what do you do it? Suppose I want to do operations like deposit. So customer may call which function? Deposit. He cannot do deposit directly. Okay, just enter input account number as well as what? Amount. Then that amount will be added to what here? Balance. Means what will happen? You are calling the function. You are calling one function to add. What is that function you are calling here? Deposit. So account is having one operation called deposit. So this deposit, what it receive? The amount. How much amount has to be deposit? And self is nothing but in which account? Okay, so so this is an instance method. So where I'm saying self dot, what you are updating? Balance. Self dot balance equal to self dot balance plus what here? Amount. So whenever you want to deposit, see whenever you want to deposit, what do you do it? You'll say account one dot. Whenever you want to deposit, you are saying account one dot. What is the method are you calling? Deposit. Account one dot. What is the method you are calling? Deposit by sending value. So what is the value input here? Amount. So deposit method, what deposit method will do? Receive the amount. And after receiving amount, it will add this amount here. It will add this amount to which one? Balance. Balance of which one? Current object. What is the current object here? Account one. So self is referring to which object here? Current object. So self dot balance equal to self dot balance plus A. So that is 50,000 plus 2,000 becomes what here? Some 52,000. Getting on. So is it deposit is a setter or getter? Setter. Means what this method is doing? Is it reading the value or modifying the value? Modifying the value. A method which changes the values of the object. See, a method which changes the values of the object, that is called as a which method it is? Setter method. A method which changes the values of the object is called as which method? Setter method. A method which doesn't change the values of the object is called getter. For example, I want to know what is a what is a balance available. Then I'm saying one method called find balance. So what is the name of this method? Find balance. And this method should return what is the balance available in the account. So here I'm writing balance is. I'm just writing here self dot. What you are reading balance. Now find balance is it find balance is a setter or getter? Getter. Because is it this method is modifying the value or reading the value? Reading the value. A method which doesn't change the values of the object. A method which doesn't change the values of the object is called getter. So this method is not modifying anything like account number or customer name or what? Balance. It is just reading the value of which one? Balance. But this method is modifying the value of which one? Balance. In the same way, now what operation you do on the account? So you do the operation called what? Withdraw. So withdraw and then what here? Amount. So how much amount has to be withdrawn? Now before withdrawing you verify. Is it amount is it amount? The amount what you withdraw is greater than what balance. The amount what you withdraw is greater than balance available in what account. Then you have to display the message, right? Saying that some insufficient, insufficient which one? Balance. Insufficient balance. Otherwise, what do you have to do? You have to withdraw it by saying self dot balance equal to self dot balance minus what is that amount. So withdraw is a setter or getter? Setter only. Because this method also because this method is also modifying the value of which attribute? Balance. See, any method which modify the values of the object, any method which modify the value of the object, so that you call it as which method? Setter method. But the method which doesn't modify the value of the object is called what? Getter. So in this, how many setters are there? Deposit and one more is what? Withdraw. But is it find balance is a setter? No, because this find balance doesn't modify the value of balance, but rather than it is trying to read the value of which one? Balance. So after deposit, what I'm doing, I'm saying account one dot find the balance. I want to know what is the balance available. And I want to do operation called which one? Withdraw. When I say withdraw, I want to withdraw some 5,000. After withdrawing, I want to know what is the balance available. After that, I want to know what is the balance available. See, this is what will happen if you take ATM. So in ATM, you insert the card. When you insert the card, what will happen? It will read. Okay, what your ATM application is doing, it is reading your details from database and store in one object. What is this object now? Account object. You insert the card. Now your details are stored in the bank database or not? Yes. So these details are read and stored in which object? Account object. What details are stored? This is your account number and this is the name of the customer and this is what your balance. Then in ATM, what do you do it? You do the operation called which one? Withdraw. Okay, you just click on which one? Withdraw. When you click on withdraw, it will ask you to enter the amount. You enter the amount like 2,000. When you say 2,000, then it calls which method of account? It will call which method of account? Withdraw. So this balance is updated. The balance which is updated in memory, that balance is updated in what? Database. Okay, now so it is trying to get the details first. From where it is trying to get the details first? From database. And where it is storing in object. And you are doing operations like withdraw. And even you try to click on which one? Check balance. Okay, I want to know what is the balance available. If I click on check balance, now your ATM is calling which method? Which method is calling find balance method of which object? Account object. That get the balance of the customer, right? So you are storing, representing data. You are representing data in the form of what is that is objects, and then you are trying to perform certain operations. But I said, no, if you want to do this, okay, now you have to do. Now balance is 52,000. And after withdrawing, what is the balance? 47,000. And if I say account one dot withdraw, and if I'm saying some 60,000, but balance available is 47,000, immediately it is given one message. What is the message? Insufficient balance. So, but what is the name of the data type I created here? Account. So this account is having how many operations? 3 operations. One is deposit, second one is find balance, third one is withdraw. But whenever you create account, you create account with account number. You create account with what? Customer name. You create account with what? Balance. See, in order to create a data type, so class represents what here? Data type. And you are using this data type to represent what here? Object. Create object. Once you develop a class, or once you develop your own data type, using this data type, you can create either one object or more than one object. But whenever you create the object, you are creating object by invoking which one? Constructor. And this constructor create initial properties of the object. Okay, right. Suppose, so instance methods are used to operate which variables? Instance variables. How you operate the instance variables? By using which methods? Instance methods. For example, see here, I am telling you one more example, a basic example. For example, I want to find the area of triangle. I want to write a program. I want to write a program to find the area of the triangle. I want to write a program to find the area of the triangle. Okay, right? Yes. Okay. I want to find the area of the triangle. So triangle is what here? Object, right? Triangle. What is a triangle here? Object. To create that object, what you are doing? To create that object, what you are doing? You are developing one class. So what is the name of the class? Triangle. So why we are developing a class triangle? To create object called which one? Triangle. So that I can store the data and perform operation. So triangle is having how many properties? Triangle is having 2 properties. Triangle is having how many properties? 2 properties. One is base. What is initially base of the triangle? 0. Is it this constructor is with arguments or without? Without. So triangle is having a base and the value of base is 0.0. So triangle is having what here? Height. And what is the height of the triangle? 0.0. The base of the triangle is 0.0 and the height of the triangle is 0.0. Okay, suppose when I create triangle, a triangle here, T1 equal to triangle. So what will happen? It will create object. So what is the name of this object here? T1. So whenever you create object, your object is created by calling which one? Constructor. And this constructor having reference of the current object. And within this object, you are creating how many variables? 2 variables. These are called instance variables. These are called as object level variables. So triangle is having 2 properties. One is base and one more is a height. But what is the base and height of the triangle? 0.0. 0. Okay. Now I want to modify this base and height because what is initially base and height? 0 and 0. How can I modify? Now, can I modify inside the main? No, because this base and height is what here? Private. So is it privates are accessible or not accessible? Not accessible. Then how can I modify the values of this base and height? Then you provide one method. You provide one method here. What is the method you are providing? You are providing one method called what? Set base. Okay, you are providing one method called set base, and this will receive the base of the triangle and then assign. Okay, self dot b base equal to what? B. But initially the base of the triangle is 0.0. Now I want to modify. Then I'll say t1 dot t1 dot what is that? Set base. I'm just writing here as 1.5. So what will happen? It will call the method called set base. The method set base is called by sending the value called b. And this b is assigned to which object here? Current object. And what is the current object here? T1. So T1 dot base equal to B. Now what is the value of base here? 1.5. So it means this method is modified the value of this object or not? Yes. So whenever I want to modify, you provide setters. Suppose if you don't provide the setters, then your object becomes what? Immutable. For example, list is having append method. List is having remove method. Okay, list is having insert method, but tuple not having append method, insert method, and remove method. So that class or that data type is not providing append, insert, and remove. If that class is provided append, insert, and remove, then what will happen? The tuple also becomes what? Mutable. So it means the data type which doesn't provide mutable operations, that data type is called which one? Immutable. Here I provided set base. Using this set base, what I can do, I can modify the value of which one? Base. If I don't write this, what is initially the value of base is 0.0. Can you modify the base of this? No, because this data is what here? Private. So in that case, your triangle becomes mutable or immutable? Immutable. It is created with initial values, but later you cannot modify it. So, but to modify it, you need to provide which methods? Setters. Okay, setter methods. Now here you are providing some setters to modify the values of this object. In the same way, I want to modify the height. Then I'm trying to write one method called set height. Now this will receive the height of the triangle self dot. What is that? Height equal to h. So you are calling what you are calling t1 dot. What is the name of the method? Set height. So I send a value called 2.5. Now which method is called set height? By sending 2.5 and even having the reference of which object? T1. So self is having reference of T1 and this height is changed from 0.0 to what? 2.5. Again, if you want to modify, you call the same methods. You want to modify from 1.5 to some 3.0, then again you'll say T1 dot set base and T1 dot what? Set height. So whenever you want to modify, you modify it. You as a developer, you provide some methods to manipulate the content of this object, right? So there is the method called to find area. So there is a method find area, and this will return self dot which one? Base into self dot what is that? Height into 0.5. So this will return what? This will return area of the triangle. So I'm saying area equal to T1 dot what? Find area. So here you display it. Now area of triangle is area of triangle is, so I display area here with dot 2f. Now how many decimal places I've taken? 2 decimal places, right? How many decimal places I've taken here? 2 decimal places. So once you run this, now you can see the area of triangle is, what is the area of triangle is? 1.88. So that you can call it as area of the triangle. Ring on. So you are creating object of a class and you are assigning the values by using setters, and you are finding the area by using which method? Find. It means whenever you, how you develop a class, always you develop a class. If you want to develop a data type or class, you should know what object you want to create. And you should identify what are the properties of this object. And you have to identify what are the methods of this object. And based on this object, you develop which one? Class. Then after developing class, you create what again? Object. And then you store what here? Data. And call this methods. So it means to develop a class, you should know what is your object is. If you don't know what is your object is, you cannot develop the class. Okay? Because you'll say no, class is a blueprint of the, class is a blueprint of what? Object. Right? So without knowing your object, you cannot develop a class. Without knowing your object properties, you cannot develop the class. Okay. So this is how you're trying to write it. So this is having instance variables and instance methods, which you can call it as object level variables and object level methods, right? So within the class, I said you can have object level variables and object level methods. In the same way, inside the class, you can also create class level variables and class level methods. You also have a class level variables and class level methods. But before that, I'll tell you one more example so that you'll be knowing how to work with this, right? So there's a class. And what is the name of the class is? The name of the class is what here? Employee. So I want to represent whose details here? Employee details. What employee is having? What employee is having? Number. Employee number is there. Employee name is there. And one more is which one? Salary. Okay, now salary, I take this as a default. Default means you may not give the salary at the, maybe you may give salary or you may not give the salary. If you don't give the salary, then what is the default salary takes? 0. Okay, later you can assign the salary, right? So this constructor work as a 2 argument as well as 3 argument, because which one is optional here? Salary. If you don't input salary, then it takes the default salary as what? 0. So self dot employee number equal to E, and self dot employee name equal to EN, and self dot salary equal to what here? S. Okay, so how many ways can you create employee object? 2 ways. I can write, suppose employee 1 is there. where I'm saying employee number is 101. This is the name of the employee and this is what here salary. So here how many values I input here? 3 values. Number is given, name is given, and one more is salary. So what will happen? Employee one object is created. What will happen? Employee one object is created with employee number is there, and employee name is there, and one more is which one? Salaries. So what is employee number is given? 101. What is the employee name is given? Naresh. What is the salary is given? 60,000. Suppose I create one more employee, employee 2 equal to employee. This is creating object. 1 or 2 and then I've given name. But are you given an input called salary here? No. So what will happen? Employee object is created. Now this is employee 2. This is created by sending number as well as what here? Name. But are you given the value of salary? No. So what is the salary here? 0. So what will happen? Employee is created with employee number. And what is the employee number? 102. And created with employee name. And what is the employee name here? Suresh. And created with what here? Salary. But what is the value of S? 0. What is the value of S here? 0. So how many objects are created? 2. So one is I create with giving how many values? 3 values. But second one is I created by giving how many values? 2 values. But what is the default salary is taken? 0. But I want to give the salary later. I want to change the salary later. How can I change the salary? Now I have to use which method? Setter. Now I'm providing a method called set salary or update salary. Any name you can give it. Set salary or update salary. Now this set salary or update salary, it will receive salary to be updated. Now where I'll say self dot salary equal to what? S. Self dot salary equal to S. Now what will happen? Now I want to give the salary to employee 2. I want to update the salary of employee 2. I'm saying employee 2 dot set salary. I'm just giving the salary as what? 90,000. Now this salary of employee 2 is updated from 0 to what? 90,000. Now setters are used to modify. Setters are used to what? Modify. Okay, setters are used to modify, right? So how many objects I created? 2 objects. So one class using one data type, using one list data type, you are creating any number of lists. So using one data type, you can able to create any number of objects. So any number of objects you can able to create. So if I want to print the details of it, now printer. So print employee is a method, and this method, so print the details of employees, right? So what it prints here, employee number. So self dot employee number. So what it prints here, employee name. So employee name, self dot employee name. So what it gets here, salary, and self dot yes. So this is getting the details of the employee. So employee one dot, what is this? Print employee. Employee two dot. So what I'm saying, print employee. So this gets the details of set salary. Right now, these are the details of the employee. So this is employee number, name of the employee, and this is salary. Employee number, name of the employee, and this is a salary, right? Yes. So inside the class, so class is a collection of variables and methods, and these variables are two types, and methods are how many types? Three types. Inside the class, okay, inside the class, you can have the variables and methods, and variables are how many types? Two types, and methods are three types. So that is instance variables, and one more is a class level variables. Methods are instance methods, class level methods, as well as static methods. Now let us talk about one more type of variable. And what is the name of this here? Class level variables. So instance variables are bind with what? Self. Inside the class, any variable which is bind with a self is called which variable? Instance variable. Instance variable or object level variable. Any variable inside the class, any variable which is bind with the self. So employee number bind with the self. This is called which variable? Instance variable. Employee name is bind with the self. This is called which variable? Instance variable. So where these variables get created within the object, where these variables get created within the object, right? So these are called which variables here? Instance variables. But there is one more type of variable you can create inside the class, and that is called which variable? Class level variables. Okay, variable declare inside the class. Okay, generally a variable declared inside the class without which argument? Self. Without binding with self, without binding with what? Self, is called which variable? Class level variable. Or a variable declared inside a class block. A variable declared inside which block? Class block. Inside class block is called a class level variable. It's called which one? Class level variable. So what is the meaning of this here? For example, you are writing class A is there. Class A is there, and there is a method called M1. If I'm writing inside the method x equal to 100, this is called as which variable? Local variable. A variable inside function is called a local variable. And if I'm writing self dot y equal to 100, now this is called which variable? Instance variable, because where this variable will be inside the object or not? Yes, instance variable or object level variable. If I'm writing a variable in a class block, if I'm saying z equal to 300, now this is called which variable? Class level variable. Now this variable is called which variable? Class level variable. If you are writing any variable here, p equal to some 500, this is called as which variable? Global variable. So this is global variable, and this is class level variable, this is local variable, and this is instance variable. So variable bind with the self is called instance variable. And if you write any variable inside a function, it's called which variable? Local variable. If you are writing a variable inside a class block, that is called which variable? Class level variable. If you are writing a variable outside the class, it's called which variable? Global variable. Global means now this variable you can access. This p variable can be accessible in class A as well as class B, because this variable is what now? Global. Global variable. Now this variable I can access inside class A as well as inside what? B, because it is a global variable. Okay, now. So you work with so many types of variables, right? Global variables, local variables, instance variables, and class level variable. Now this variable is called class level variable. But why we have to use a class level variable here? Okay, why we have to use this class level variable here? Okay, class level variable. Okay, so why we have to use this class level variables here, right? So this class level variables, okay, generally, class level variables are generally you'll call it as which variables? Global variables. But you are not writing outside the class, right? Global variables which are global to more than, which are global to more than what? One object. Class level variables or which variables? Global variables. These are global variables, but these variables are global to what? More than one object. Okay, see every object is having its own properties. For example, what will happen is, okay, assume that, so there is I'm developing one data type. What is the name of the data type? Student is there. What is the name of the data type? Student. Student, every student is having some properties. Every student is having a properties. Every student is having how many properties or how many variables. Like suppose student is having roll number. Okay, student is having roll number and student is having what? Name. Every student is having these two properties, right? Every student is having these two properties. So whenever I create a student, like suppose I create a student one equal to what? Student. When I say student one equal to student, which object is created? Student one object is created with how many variables? Two variables. Roll number is 0 and name is what here? None. So this roll number and name are called which variables? Instance variables or object level variables. This roll number and name are called as instance variables or object level variables. Okay, now I create one more student. Student 2 equal to student. So here one more student is created. Okay. So there is one more student called student 2. And whenever you create the object is created by calling which one? Constructor. And this constructor create how many properties here? Two properties. One is roll number and one more is what again? Name. So what is the real number of student? 0. What is the name of the student here? None. So each student is having his own instance variables. Copy of instance variables are not. Yes. But I want to create one variable which is common. I want to create one variable which is common for both the students. I want to create one variable which is common for all the students. One property which is common for all the students. Like suppose all the students belongs to the same college. Then if I'm writing here, suppose if I'm writing self dot college, if I'm saying equal to NIT, then what will happen? It will create one property called which one? College. What is the value of college? NIT. And it will create one more property called college. And what is the value of college here? NIT. But actually this both the students are belongs to the same college or not? Yes. Then I don't want to create this college attribute every time. I don't want to create this college attribute every time. I want to create this attribute how many times? Only one time. And that should used by how many objects? All the objects. So I want to create one property which is common. Then where you create that property which is common at class level. So here you'll write, what do you write here? College name. Or college equal to which one? NA. So this is which variable now? Class level variable. This is class level variable. Now this class level variable is accessed by student1 object. This class level variable can access by which object? Student2 object. Now what student1 is having? Roll number, name, as well as what? College. What student2 is having? Roll number, name, and one more is what? College. College is what? Common. College is what? Common. For how many students? All the students. But every student is having his own roll number and name. But this property is the common for all the students. So if you want to define the global property, so class level variables are global variables which are global to more than one object. It is used, actually it is used to define which property? Common property. A property which is common. A property which is common to all the objects. A property which is common for all the objects. So that property you define it by using which variable? Class level variable. And class level variable is bind with what name? Class name. See, object level variable. Now this variable is bind with what name? Object name. Student1 dot roll number, student1 dot name, student2 dot roll number, student2 dot name. But this variable is bind with what here? Class. Student dot college. Because is it college is belongs to one student or all the students? All the students. So class level variable is bind with class name, or it can bind with what here? Object name also. You can access this variable with class name or object name. So this variable can be accessed. This variable can be accessed without creating object. This variable can be accessed without creating object because it is declared at which level? Class level. What is the syntax of writing this here? So inside the class, class level variable bind with class level variable bind with what name? What name? Class name. Inside the class, object level variable bind with self. Inside the class, object level variable bind with self. Inside the class, object level variable bind with self. But inside the class level variable is bind with class name. Class level variable bind with class name, right? So you have to remember this here. Now this is syntax here. Inside the class level variable. Inside the class level variable bind with the class name. So how you write this here? So class and followed by class name or d.name. See, building a class is nothing but building one d.type. See, building a class is nothing but building one data type. You are writing a class and class name or data type name. You are writing a class or class name or data type name, and inside this class, what do you write it? Variables. Here you write which variable? Class level variable with the value. But inside the which method? Instance method. So there is instance method. Assume that instance method is with what here? Self. Inside method, instance method, you create self dot which variable here? Which variable? Instance variable equal to what again? Value. So inside the class, instance variables bind with self. But class level variable with self or without? Without. But inside method, you can access this variable with what name? Class name. So instance variables, memory is allocated when you create the object, right? Until unless you don't create object, right? So for example, there is a class A is there. I said A x equal to 100. This is called which variable? Class level variable. And this variable you can access directly. You can write directly what A dot x is a public. Is a public, and you can access directly by saying A dot x. A dot x, what is the x value? 100. Okay. But if it is object level variable, if it is object level variable y equal to 200, can I write print A dot y? No, because y is which variable? Object level. But x is which variable? Class level. You can say A dot x, but this variable is bind with what here? Self. Self refers to object. If you are writing A dot y, it gives what? Error. Type object A has no attribute called which one? Y. So when this memory for y is created, when you create object of which class? A class. You create object of which class? A class. So when you create object of A class, what will happen? It reserves. When you create object of A class, what will happen? It reserves. It will call the constructor and it reserves memory for which variable? Y. And what is the value of y? The value of y is what here? 200. It means this variable is bind with object or class? Object. This variable is not bind with the class. This variable is bind with what here? Object. So I cannot bind or I cannot access with what name? Class name. I'll say obj a dot y. What is the value of obj a? 200. What is the value of obj a? 200. Yes. Any method with a self is called instance method only. But this is special method which is called as a constructor. Okay, this is a special method which is called as a construct. So any method with a self is called instance only, right? But this is constructor method. So I create one more object. Assume that I create one more object. I create one more object by saying obj a1 equal to a. So here I created one more object. One more object is created. On creation of object, it called the constructor, and within the constructor, you are creating a variable y. And what is the value of y? 200. And what is the name of this object? Obj a1. So what is the value of obj a y value? 200. What is the value of obj a1 y value? 200. Okay, so instance variables where memory is allocated within object context. Memory is allocated in which context here? Object context. The memory is allocated within the object space. Context means space. Within the object space, memory is allocated for which variables? Instance variables or object level variables. But is it X memory is allocated within the object? No. The memory is allocated within the class context. The memory is allocated within the class context. But here memory is allocated within the object context, right? Okay, right? So that is where you find a difference here between the object context and one more is a class context, right? Okay. So here I cannot write a dot y, but I should say obj a dot y. Now you can see 100 and one more value is what? 200. So the first value is 100 and second value is what here? 200, right? Yes. So it means class level variables bind with the class name. Okay, now class level variables bind with the class name. But object level variables bind with the object name. Even class level variables also bind with what? Object name, because those are common variables. Okay. How many classes left for this class? How many classes you want? How many classes you want to complete? Tell me. I'll complete in that number of classes. You don't want to listen, huh? What year? You don't want to listen. You want a subject or classes. You want subject or classes. You want subject or classes. No response. Don't say both. Okay. Okay. You have an exam. Okay. I'll complete. Don't worry. Huh? When you have an exam. Okay. I'll complete. Don't worry. So that's the reason we have some special classes this Saturday. Okay, na? So where we'll try to complete simple topics. End of this month. Okay. Happily you can write exam because our course also will be get over. Okay. Okay. Right. So here, what do you do it here? So there is a class. So common, right? The things which are common to more than one object. The things which are common to more than one object. So that you are writing here, right? Now there is a class. So what is the class here is, for example, assume that there's a class called circle is there. Okay. What circle is having? Every circle is having what here? Radius. So whenever I create a circle, I create a circle by assigning what here? Radius. But there is one thing which is common for all the circles. Okay, suppose what will happen if I write self dot pi equal to 3.147. For every circle, it will create pi. But actually, pi is the same for all. Pi is the same for all circles. Then why you want to create it for every? Not required, right? Then what do you do it? You don't declare this at which level? Object level. You declare this at which level? Class level. And means, is it this variable is created in the object or class? Class. But if you write here self dot, then this variable is created inside object. Every object create how many variables? Two variables. One is radius and one more is a pi. If I create 100 circles, it will create radius, pi, radius and pi. But pi is same for all circles. Then I don't want to create for every circle, but I want to create only one time. I want to create only one time. Then you declare at which level? Class level. You declare this at which level? Class level. So I just write here pi equal to 3.147. Okay, now, yes. Now this is which variable now? Class level variable, but public. And this is object level variable, but this is private. So can you make this class level also private? Yes. Underscore pi. So it means you cannot access this pi outside the class. You can access this pi only within the class. Okay, but it is a class level variable. Now there is a method called which one? Find area. So I'm finding the area by saying pi r square, right? Now pi is which variable? Class level. And class level variable access with what name? Class name. Inside the class level variable access with what name? Class name. Underscore what? Pi into self dot radius into self dot what is it here? Radius. Pi r square, and then return what here? Area. But how many times memory for pi is created? Only one time. And that is shared by how many objects? Number of objects. That is shared by one object or number of objects? Number of objects. Not one object. Number of objects. Not one object. Number of objects, you can share it. Okay, so here I try to create a circle 1 by saying circle 1 equal to circle. I am creating another circle, circle 2 equal to circle, but I input radius of circle 1 and this is a radius of what here? Circle 2. So here I am creating how many objects now? 2 objects. Created 2 objects right now. So this is a object whose name is a C1. And this is the object whose name is what here? C2. So whenever you create the object, your object is created by invoking constructor. And this time self is having address of C1. And within circle 1, it will create radius. And what is the radius of circle 1? 1.5. Then again, I created one more circle. Now this will call the constructor. And this is having reference of circle 2 object. And within that object, you are creating variable called radius. And what is the value of radius? 2.5. Now here circle is created, two objects are created with radius 1.5. This circle radius 1.5, this circle radius is 2.5. But are you created pi inside this? No, because pi is not object level variable. So after that, what I'm doing is I'm finding the area 1 equal to circle 1 dot find the area. So what I'm doing, I'm calling the method called find area. And this find area method having reference of which one? Circle 1. Then you are saying circle dot pi. You are reading which value? Pi value. But this is a class level or not? Yes. Then self dot radius. What is a self here? Circle 1. And what is a circle 1 radius? 1.5 into what is that? 1.5. Now that result is written into what? Area 1. Means same pi value is used for how many objects here? Both the objects. Now when you say C2 dot find area, if you say C2 dot find area, it will call the method find area. And within find area, what you are accessing? Circle dot pi. Same pi value. Same pi value is used by how many circles now? 2 circles. But how many times memory for this pi is reserved here? Only one time. And it is accessed by multiple objects. It is accessed by multiple objects. Now, this is again area 2 equal to C2 dot find area. Now you can write here area of which one? Circle 1. Area 1 with how many decimal places? 2 decimal places. And print format area of circle 2, you're getting how many decimal places? 2 decimal places. Now this is how you are trying to do it. So once you run this, now this you can say area of circle 1, which is 7.08, and area of circle 2 is 19.67, right? Yes. But this is global. This is what here? Global. Global to all the objects. This is global to all the objects. For example, suppose if you see one more example, suppose you are developing application like this. There's a class. So you are developing application for a bank again. You are developing application for a bank again. Okay. Yes. Yeah, you can change it. You can change it. Inside the instance method, you can read the value of class level variable. Inside the instance method, you can read the value of class level variable. You can modify the value of class level variable. So every customer is having account number is there. Customer is having account number. Customer is having name. Customer is having balance. So self dot customer name equal to CN. Self dot balance equal to what here? B. Okay. So every customer is having how many properties? 3. All these are instance variables. But all customers should maintain one property. One common property is there for all customers. What is that common property? Minimum balance. All this customer should maintain minimum balance. Getting on. So are you creating minimum balance at object level or class level? Class level. Because this property is a common. All the customers should have same minimum balance or not? Yes. So if I write here self dot minimum balance, Then for every customer, it will create what? Minimum balance. Means you are unnecessarily wasting the space. If you create 100 customers, for 100 customers, it will create minimum balance property, but which is common for all customers. Then you don't declare this at which level? Object level. You declare this at which level? Class level. So it's a property which is common for all the customer, but I make this as private. Can you access this minimum balance outside? No, because I declare this variable as what now? Private. So I just print the details of this account. Only one method I write. Print account is a method, instance method. I try to write what I'm printing. Self dot account number. Self dot account number. And self dot customer name. And self dot, what is that here? Balance. Then account dot which one? Minimum. Account dot minimum balance. Because this is which variable? Class level variable. So I create a customer one by giving account number, customer name and balance here. I create an account two objects I create. So the name of the customer and this is a balance. Account one dot print account. Then account two dot print account. Account one dot print account. And I said account two dot print account here, right? So you're trying to print the details of a customer. Now once you run this, so customer one, but minimum balance is the same. Customer two, minimum balance is what again? Same, right? So this property is shared by how many objects here? Two objects. So that is customer one as well as what? Customer two. So inside the class, you can write a class level variables. And even you also have which methods? Class level methods. Class level variables are there. And you also have a class level methods. But we'll see like how to work with this class level methods. But not today. But we'll see tomorrow that. Okay. So today we'll stop here and tomorrow we'll continue this. Right. So thank you. We'll see tomorrow.